Hello, my name is Melissa Thornton, and this is my Lesson 5 Assessing Learners video for TL310 Educational Psychology for Non-Teachers. This week we were required to observe in a learning environment where learners are being assessed. To do this, I decided to sit in on a training session at my work. I currently work at a small local internet service provider called Sonic. Incoming employees at Sonic all go through the process of learning about our tools, services, and the science behind internet connectivity. According to the text, assessment is a critical component of the educational process. Educational institutions, government agencies, and professional associations are placing increasing emphasis on assessing performance in relevant areas of their domains. That's according to Obiaker. Sonic is no exception to this. Learners are assessed all throughout training as well throughout their careers at Sonic. The result is better performance by employees. In the training session I sat in on, the trainer, Tiffany Schwab, began the session by quizzing the 3 trainees on the material that they had covered in the last lesson. However, she quickly pointed out to me that the 3 trainees were all training for different positions in the company, and thus the review questions for each trainee was different. This reminded me how this text speaks about differentiating instruction. According to the text, the basic idea of differentiation is that the teacher finds out the student needs and readiness before starting instruction so that they can use this information to tailor or diversify instruction for them. That's according to Obiaker. As a trainer practicing differentiation for her trainees, Tiffany asked questions which were both specifically relevant to the job in which the trainee was training for, and which highlighted in practice areas of knowledge that needed improvement. Because she had been training with these new employees for a few sessions, she was aware of which areas needed improvement. Thus, she assessed learners and differentiated instruction. According to the text, assessing learners from a diagnostic standpoint involves 1. The cause of the learning problem for purpose of classification, 2. Diagnostic information about the child's style of learning and psychological processes, and 3. Academic content needs for instructional purposes. That's according to Obiaker. As a trainer, Tiffany is careful to address all 3 of these components. Through her quiz at the beginning of the training session, Tiffany determines from the previous day what was unclear or unabsorbed by the trainees. This determines any causes for learning and gives her feedback for future training sessions. She then offers the information in a different way, which may be better understood by the trainees, and thus gives her a diagnostic information about the trainee's style of learning. Finally, Tiffany makes sure that all the necessary information for the job is conveyed and understood, thus addressing academic content needs. Finally, Tiffany observes that it's important to ensure understanding of previous information before moving on to new information. During the time that I was observing, which is about 40 minutes in total, Tiffany was going over entirely review information. According to the text, this is beneficial for learners. The text says, another important time for diagnosis is when a teacher begins a new unit because the student's new learning is usually dependent on their prior knowledge. That's according to Obiaker. This is very true when working to understand internet connectivity, and I can attest, as someone who has gone through this training, that it's helpful for the trainees as well. As I observed the training, I found that I very much agreed with the way that Tiffany handled her assessment of the learners. Her way of diagnosing and then differentiating instruction worked well to ensure that all the participants in the training were able to fully understand the material before moving on to new material. One strategy I might add would be to allow the students to divulge their own personal style of training before beginning the training session. This way, trainers like Tiffany might have a better understanding of a learner's style of learning and psychological processes. As an example of this, if I were personally in this training group, I would have said that I learn best through collaboration with peers. Then, as my trainer, Tiffany may have been able to facilitate more opportunities for me to collaborate with fellow trainees. Overall, my experience observing and evaluating Tiffany's training session was an overwhelmingly positive one. It was helpful to see some of the assessment practices we discussed this week in practice, and I look forward to implementing these practices in my future target career as a school teacher. Thank you very much for watching.